Oh man. All right. Yeah, so we're officially live. Hi, Internet. Hi, FanFest Live.
What's up, FanFest Live?
We
Good morning.
live. Come tap in. Maybe someone from England let us know how the internet. Whoa! Hey!
What's up,
What up?
Tarek?
What up, everybody?
It's a beautiful little surprise. What's up, my guy? How you feeling?
Oh man, chilling.
Tarek is the one in our podcast who has had the most sun today. It's uh, bright and early for him, but it's the sun isn't even close to up for where Sharpie is, and probably even Tom. Y'all got, you
Eh,
got
it's about to come up here in a minute.
yeah. But welcome, world. We are Shades of Blue. I'm sipping coffee. 7:30 where I am, and so you can just basically work either an hour ahead or an hour behind, 2 hours behind. So we got a nice little variance of hours, and we can't even watch the match. We're here in the U.S. Cheers, Bristol City. We can't. All we can do is wait till what did the City Plus app say? Noon tomorrow
Noon
for
tomorrow,
the
yeah.
replay to be available. So basically, once we wake up, we'll be able to watch the replay. So uh, hopefully, there's some people at the match live who can keep us up to date because I assume City's going to do well. And I mean, we'll talk about the lineups and we'll move through. But I honestly think kind of our bigger discussion in this halftime, and it's only 30 minutes, so it could probably push over to our, SOB. But we wanted to end the episode kind of talking about what's going on in women's football right now. The players seem to be supporting each other, speaking up about how their federations are wiling out. So we wanted to end the episode there. So let's just get to the City women. They're playing Bristol City. We previously played them. What was it? A week, 2 weeks ago?
It was like the 25th of January, so about a month ago.
Yeah, and handled them. So I would assume we'll be able to do the same. But hold on, let's grab this lineup. This is the City women lineup.
Drum roll.
uh,
There we go.
Yes, MacGyver, Alexandri, Houghton wearing the captain's band, Greenwood and Ohabi, Engeldahl, okay, Engeldahl, Coombs, Castellanos, Kelly, Hemp, and Shaw. So, Tom Baum, why don't you let us know what you see with the starting 11, how you think the team might set up in all those teams?
So you can tell it's a cup competition because Sandy McKeever's starting. So,
Mhm.
it's and we've seen in the past few cup competitions that we've been in. We've seen the center back combination of Houghton and Greenwood. Um, I think what's really kind of sticking out about this particular lineup is that you see Yui Hasegawa's on the bench. The women are returning from international break. I'm pretty sure that Yui did play at least the full 90 in two of the She Believes Cup matches that Japan played. So she probably just needs some rest. So, and I think that Filippo Angeldal will probably be adept enough to handle the six against Bristol City. I think to me, the most intriguing question will be which one of the fullbacks will invert into the midfield and sit alongside her. Will it be Laya Alexandri or will it be Layla Wahhabi? I think it will kind of just depend on where she feels most comfortable. And I think that I'm pretty sure that uh, Ipa feels more comfortable on the left. So I would not be surprised if we saw Wahhabi be the one to come into the midfield and sit alongside her. And then like we just have our fantastic three up top with Chloe Kelly, Lauren Hemp, and Bunny Shaw. And Chloe Kelly, she is on a heater right now. She is the Golden Boot winner for the Arnold Clark Cup, or as I think I've heard it called, the he believes he can sell you a car, because I think Arnold he's the big car dealership in the or car dealer in the UK. Um, so she's the Golden Boot winner of that particular tournament. She's really on a heater right now. Because of that, and because the Bristol City is Lauren Hemp's old club, I actually expect a really, really big match from Lauren Hemp. In the last match that we played in the Conti Cup, she had 2 goals or a goal and 2 assists, I believe. So she was very instrumental in winning that game. So I definitely see her having a big role to play in this match. And this is just an all overall big statement for the club, because in 3 days the men play Bristol City in the FA Cup. So it's just kind of like you assert your dominance as a club and say, like, we are a better club than you, like top to bottom, on both men and women. So I'm thinking that if for anybody that watched the men's match yesterday, Castellanos will probably play in that same role that Phil did, and I think we had talked about how, and Bristol played 5 at the back when they played us last month, so we'll probably see all 5 attacking players with the front line, and then Castellanos and Coombs press up against their back 5 to help create that space so that they can get those one-on-one matchups, and then somebody can win that. So that's what I'm expecting to see in this match. And Bristol City, they're pretty hot right now. I know that they've, I think in their last 5 matches, they're 3-1-1 right now. And of those 3 wins, one of them is against London City, who they are top of the table in the women's championship. I think that Bristol City is tied with them on points, but London City has the goal differential advantage. I think it's like 30-22 or something like that. So this match is important for them, just to say that they can win a trophy, but they're probably more focused on trying to get promoted at this point. Then remember, there's only for the women's championship, there's only the one spot. Like, only one team in the WSL gets relegated, so there's only the one spot to come up.
That's tough. Well, that explains. Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out how I'm going to pay attention to this match. Like, do I want to play the radio, or am I just going to kind of let my brain rest? Because, I mean, we have a few men's games going on, so I can just live on Twitter and just see what's going on. I don't know. It just kind of bums me out.
I know that the last match that was not streamed, the City Plus app, and I don't even think that you had to necessarily subscribe to the City Plus portion, but to get the Match Day Center updates. But those were pretty solid.
Yeah.
Kind of let you know what was going on. But also the flip side of that is that that particular match was not very exciting, and it like ended 1-0, and Felipe Angeldal scored in like at the death for us to win that particular match. So
No, I was gonna say, like, I love what Crunk said. Like, I think I'm gonna go with the audio, but I gotta watch something. Like, I can't just listen to it like a podcast. Like, I'll have probably Spurs, Chelsea on.
Yeah,
whatever.
just a bunch of stuff going on.
Just something on in the background. But
yeah, gonna be crazy.
Take it old school. We're gonna take it back to the days before HDTV and all you had was the radio. We're getting real ancestral here.
Yes.
That it's gonna be one of those like heavy neurodivergent
that
is
ancestral.
vibes.
I used to do that. There you go, dude. You had to imagine it. You had to see it with your eyes.
Don't put me out to pasture yet, man.
Y'all had strong imaginations, okay? Imagination had that strong. Let's see it.
You're right. So I remember as a kid, we lived in Germany, and it's kind of the opposite of here, where all of the basketball games come on a normal time here. you were like 8 hours above or be behind either way. So it would be like 2, 3 in the morning or something like that before school. And of course, my parents weren't letting me stay up. So I remember being in my room with my headphones, listening to the radio as quiet as I can, trying to listen to the NBA or whatever it was. So yeah, I've been there, I've done that, and I think I can do it today if I need to.
Shouts to Adam in the chat. Soccer via smoke signals. Exactly. Adam. We're taking it back to the future. You know,
Right.
Let's get into the DeLorean real quick.
Yeah, no, it's gonna be rough. Yeah, hopefully at least like goal highlights pop up, because also it's one of those things. I want to be very much into the match, but I also wouldn't mind watching it. So I like also don't mind not keeping up with it totally. So when I watch the replay in the morning, at work, I can be like, oh, that was a fun goal. Yeah, but oh yeah, let's take Bristol. You got enough. Your lineup has got enough on time on here. Goodness gracious.
Hey, really quick.
Yeah.
So for Tom, because I don't pay attention as closely as you do, which is a failure as a girl dad. But I noticed looking at the lineup from the previous match against Arsenal and then today's match, right? There's 3 changes. You called out McIver, the cup keeper, which was expected. You called out Huey Hasegawa being out because of travel, whatever. But I noticed, I'm going to say her name wrong, Kirsten
Kirsten
Kasparai.
Kasparai.
So talk to me about that.
I think that's a function of the fact that she played for the Netherlands. I forgot what tournament they played in. And this actually will probably, like, Crunk, if you're okay, I'd like to kind of like transition to this topic. This will probably take us into the topic. The reason that the Spanish center backs are they didn't get called in because they are amongst the list of, I believe it was 20 Spanish players that this was in the summer of 2022. They requested a different coach. Like all of them signed all 20 of them signed a letter, with the exception of Alexia Putellas. Like Jorge Vilda is he's the football equivalent of a nepo baby. He's the son of the head of the Spanish La Liga referees. So like basically, like, that's kind of how he got his job. They're in the letter that the players wrote, I believe they were allegations of mental, verbal, and physical abuse by Jorge Vilda, and like just like lack of transparency, just basically just things that you would not expect from a leader of people, like this, just that you just can't have from a coach. So I think I want to contrast that particular move with this the Spanish team with the news that we've been hearing this particular week, and that's about the French national team. I believe it was Friday. Their longtime captain, Wendy Renard, who I believe she's been their captain for quite a long time. If you follow women's football at all, you know she's the tall lady with the afro. That's her. Their coach, Corinne Diacre, she also has a documented case of like player harassment, intimidation, retaliation, verbal abuse. Like if and that dates back to 2015. I believe that you go all the way back to 2015. I forgot who the first player was. I know that she and Amadine Henry have gotten into it, and Amadine Henry has not been called into the squad. After the 2019 World Cup that was in France, Diacre called out Eugenie Le Sommer directly and said that she was the reason that they lost against the U.S. And that she had not been called into the team like before that, after that until last summer in the Euros. So Wendy Renard, early Friday morning, she announced that she would not be returning to the French national team because she was told by the director of the French national team that she would be the Diacre would be gone. And they ended up after the 2022 Euros, and they ended up extending Diacre's contract. So shortly after that, uh, Kadidou Diani, she also announced that she would not be playing for the French national team. And then a few hours after that, Maria Antoinette Katoto also announced that she would not be coming back, which is kind of a big deal because, like, she was before she did her knee in the Euros, she was the leading club goal scorer in the world on the women's side. Um, she announced that she would not be coming back, and I know that she's close to coming back from injury. And then yesterday, Griezmann Bach, who also just is she also just suffered a knee injury, unfortunately. She stated that she, like, when she becomes healthy, she will not be, like, even her timeline would line up with the World Cup. She would not be playing for them as long as Corinne Diacre was the manager. So we have two examples there, and then the third I'll touch on is the Canadian national Canada Soccer, which is a little bit more not necessarily abuse, but there is a history of that, and you can look up what Sidney Leroux has to say about that. But the Canada Soccer decided that in this World Cup year that they were going to cut some of the funding to the women's team, which meant that they were going to call in fewer players for international call-ups for international windows, and that they were going to severely cut the support staff that they had, as far as like trainers, equipment managers, things of that nature. And that is contrasted across the fact that the Canadian men's national team just went to the World Cup for the first time in a very long time. I believe it's since 1986, and they actually increased their budget for the last 2 years. And and this was before the international break started for the women. A bunch of Christine Sinclair, who's the all-time international goal scoring leader. She said that she would not be playing. Janine Becky, former City player, also said that she would not be playing. And then basically, Canada Soccer said, "We hear you, we understand you, but if you don't get your asses in camp, we're suing you off for breach of contract." So Canada did not have a great showing at the She Believes Cup, but that's more of a function of like the fact that they're fighting their federation a lot. And this is kind of a lot along the same lines of what USS Soccer was going through with the equal pay for the men's and women's, which that was just ratified at the end of this year. So all of their payouts are now the same from USSF for both men and women. But it does bring up some interesting questions about are we still, is USSF still paying for the same amount of support staff? Are we still like for both men and the women? And because I think I just said that, like, three of the players that I just mentioned, Alexei Putelis, Maria Antoinette Katoto, Griezmann Bach, all three of them did their knee, and we have a severe lack of understanding about women athletes and what the strain on their specifically is on their knees, because we've seen, like, over the last, I don't know, 18 months, we've seen so many players across women's football just do their, tear their ACLs, and we don't have enough research about that. So maybe that's something that soccer federations need to consider actually, spending more money on. But I guess the overarching point over all of this is that all of these football federations need to be listening to their players, because you can have the federation, but even without the federation, without the players, you're still not as dynamic as a federation. You don't get to show what your best is, and that if you are a soccer federation, you are trying to show your best football to the world. And this is not, France, Canada, Spain. They are currently not showing their best to the world. And that's just a shame. That, like, we need to be doing better for the women's game.
Tom, you said so many amazing things. I wanted to zoom in on one point you made though about who for France were the first three to drop off, and I wanted to make a comparison for anybody who's not like fully aware of international football and like where these women rate. So if you were to take the U.S. women's national team, think about if Alex Morgan, Megan Rapinoe, and Becky Sauerbrunn all said, "I'm not going." That would be mind blowing, like huge news waves. It would send waves throughout the world because we know these are the three of the most high profile women on the team. You have your star center back, your captain, you have your star forward, you have your star winger. That's what's happening in France. Those are the women who have said. Now we also can't. We're shades of blue. Let's talk about what they look like. These are not fair skinned women. These are brown, dark brown women of power and beauty, and women who have put it all out there and had to deal with so many other systemic things to make it to this point. And so when you think about who the manager is, this white woman, former player who has ridiculed, who took away Wendy Renard's captaincy at the 2019 World Cup, who's publicly said that she derides her players and isn't a nice manager and treats them horribly. I want to shout out She Scores Banger on Twitter. She posted a YouTube video that gave a nice deep run about this. It's insane to think that three of the best players in the world are going to, on one team, are going to say, nope, I would rather stay home. You only get 2 or 3 World Cups as a player. And so it's 4 if you're lucky, but 2 to 3 usually is the number to say nope, I'm not doing this. I can't take it mentally and emotionally anymore. That's huge because I can't imagine that in the men's game, right? We know you don't hear this ever. Men don't have to deal with these issues to this level, to this point, to where you are sacrificing, your time in this limited run of being a top athlete in the world to say, no, I have to take a stand. And it's really frustrating. And I know Terry, you as a girl dad, I couldn't imagine seeing those types of things and still knowing that 2023 women around the world are still dealing with being treated as second-class humans.
Yeah, it's a very stark difference, right, between women, particularly women's sports, and men's sports. There's a distinct difference that, quite honestly, has been intentionally baked in. If we were to go back to the world wars, and when all of the men were off and women were thriving playing these sports, and then when the men come back, they intentionally, I'm gonna use the word, subject the women's game to the men's game. So it's not an issue of, oh, this thing just happens. It was intentionally baked in, and I think it's going to take intentionality to change it. And we probably have not seen that level of commitment from, whether it be national federations or just FIFA in general. Someone has to step up and demand, not ask, but demand that these changes happen. And until someone is willing to do that, you have to, the players themselves have to take it upon themselves to do it. And so I hope and pray that it's not just the folks that look like us on the French team, right? Yes, they're the biggest players on the team, or some of the biggest players on the team, and it will reverberate throughout the country, I'm sure. But I think it also requires some of the folks that don't look like us to stand with them and say, you know what, this is, we've had enough of this, and changes have to happen. And I think, again, this is not just France. This is not, we've seen this within our own federation, US. They were having this conversation just a few years ago. And again, because of the public nature of it, you start to see change start happening. And I think there's still changes and there's still room for change to continue to happen here in the States. But I think now we're seeing that same conversation happening everywhere else. And my hope is that it drives systemic change across just women's football in general.
Yeah.
And Tarek, you were saying about how like it needs to be people that don't look like our sisters, aunts, moms, etc. And I think one of like um, the one of the first players to really do this on the women's side was Ada Hegerberg, and I think that you have seen the amount of support that she has definitely given her club teammates at Lyon, especially Wendy Renard. That that particular support. I know that Yuki Nagasato, that used to play for the Japanese national team, she also came out with a
Yep.
a big statement as well. Um, but I there's also like some like French team club politics. Like I think that I believe that Diacre played at PSG, so like she still has connections there. So like her name is kind of like taboo to say anything about, which is why it's such a big deal that Griezmann, Marie Antoinette Katoto, and Diani all said like, no, we're not, because they all play for PSG. Like you can kind of see that there's a like from my observation, this and this just anecdotally, there's been a lot more non-French Lyon players that have been supportive of their club teammates than there have been non-French PSG players that have been supportive of their teammates. Now, like, I'm not going to call out Ashley Lawrence, because Ashley Lawrence is already like, she plays for Canada Soccer, so we've already talked about she's dealing with her own shit over here. So, but it is kind of interesting to see like that kind of fault line amongst the team, and I do hope it would be nice if Selma Bacha or Delphine Cascarino did come out and say hey, this is like, I'm also not going forward with this particular manager, but like you know um abusers always have favorites. And so it's been kind of reported that Cascarino, like, since she's come back from having the baby, is now Diacre's favorite. So maybe like that's like, oh well, I'm getting this nice treatment. She's not being abusive to me anymore. So so really hope that someone else does come out and say something, someone who is not necessarily black, not because black women don't have power. We all firsthand know the power of black women, but we also know as black people that we're always going to need help in making a stand against something that is wrong. So, and
You need an ally.
yes, exactly. And
And
Diacre is wrong.
yeah, and a good. I'm happy you mentioned Yuki Nagasato, because I was going to bring her up, and that this is sort of what we need to see is many players from different federations all speaking up about the same thing. So we can't just be like, oh, it's only Spain. Oh, it's just France. Oh, like, we know, well, the people who pay attention to women's football, we know that this is just a problem across the board. But in order to get new fans, new interest, all this money in, uh, these players are going to need to speak up, because in order to, if women's football really wants, the money and the commercialism to come, some of these things are going to have to get addressed, because if they get all this money now while all of these things are bad, and honestly just kind of lets all these bad people know that they can just keep doing what they're doing. So these players need to speak up and almost ruin the sponsorship dollars, because that's really what's going to affect change. You got to hurt them in the pockets, and that's really so. It wouldn't even surprise me if these players start speaking up more the closer we get to the Women's World Cup, because I'm sure I would love to hope that they're doing things behind the scenes. But if you're not seeing any change, these these great players, like, they just need to be if they need to do an interview once a month, like it kind of is what it is. They need to put put some fire to these FIFA heads' feet because they obviously don't care and destroying whole careers, whole like generations of players are like now not available. Like Katoto is truly one of the best footballers in women's football, and she cannot represent her country. Like, what is going on? Like that, there's no world where this is okay. But and like one of the videos that hit me, but like before we get out here, just sticking on. I mean, it doesn't matter. We can't watch the match anyway. But like the Canada and USA in the She Believes, they got together at the end of the match and they held hands in solidarity. The Canadian women, they wore the T-shirts that says "Enough is enough," the purple T-shirts. It's things like that and it's recording, it's getting retweeted, it's getting shared. It's one of those things. It's even just like the stupid Twitter trolls. Like I typed in women's football and I'm trying to just like find correct tweets and stuff like that, and just in between all of the like the good posts, you have like one tweet that I saw. I actually don't want to say it, but it was just like hateful. It's bigoted. We have to get those people out of there because they're just like shitting on women's football just because you don't understand it. Like there's no need for any of this. Just say you don't understand what's going on. Just say you're not interested and move on. But for you to then have to like knock these women down, knock these players down, knock anyone who pays attention down to it just because you don't want to pay attention to it. It's just weird. And then to end on a positive note, the main reason why we really need to push women's sports is the perfect example is the video of Trinity Rodman giving her shirt to the little girl Aaliyah, who like before Trinity even took the shirt off, the girl is just melting. Like she can't even like say words. The mom is talking for the kid, and just how grateful that girl is. Like I'm getting chills just talking about the video because it just made me so happy to see it. Because yes, we see the men's team giving out their shirts all the time, but what do you see? I feel like a half hour later, you see them like their shirts on sale, like just worn pre-match shirts. Like there's just a level of appreciation for the people going to these women's matches that does not match the men's sport. And there are people who will lose their mind for a men's t-shirt, but the things that most people have to do to get to a women's sports match, knowing that it's at like the secondary or third stadium, that the amenities and everything might not be the best. Like people really have to go above and beyond to support women's sports. And so I really just feel like the bare minimum is to be these people with all this money to, step up.
Yeah, I think I think we understand it because, being black men in this sport, of course. And again, that's not to say that there's not a lot of black men that play this sport, but again, representation matters. Let's just say it. And for these women, particularly in the case of Trinity Rodman, young girls of color like my daughter who, play this sport, but often don't see themselves reflected on their teams anywhere. My daughter, the only time she had one other black player on her club team earlier on. That kid was a little bit younger, so when they did the split, she went to a younger team because she was born in 06 or whatever, as opposed to 05, or whatever it ends up being. That was it. No one else looks like my kid on her team. So when the dad's on the sideline say, "Oh, so which one is yours?" They're just asking questions because they just want to ask questions. Trying to find a good way to ease into it. You can look out there and you can tell which one is mine, right? Whatever. But not just on her club team, but when we start looking at the national team again, that's why Sydney Leroux was so important to me as a dad, because I could see my kid could grow up to be like this one day. Maybe not at that level, because again, that's the rare exception. You got to be. That's exceptional to get to that level. But just to be wanting to continue to play because I can see players that look like me, which is why the Crystal Duns and all those people that have come in somewhat post Sydney Leroux. I think pre Sydney Leroux, you had the midfielder that came out of Notre Dame. I can see her. She's a little bit older.
Shannon Box.
Shannon Box, yes. So she was there, but she was kind of, I think she might have been hurt or out. So there was no one except for Sydney Leroux. And quite honestly, to see the fact that she kind of got pushed to the curb by the national team is kind of depressing, because that was all that there was at this. Now we see this resurgence. How much of that is attributable to being able to watch a Sydney Leroux play? No one calls that out, but the end of the day, that representation matters. And so it is important for little girls to be able to see themselves, which is why it's so like mind-blowing and so monumental for them to be able to get that, to your point, Crunk, to be able to get that that jersey or whatever. So my hope is that across, and I said it already, right? Across FIFA, across the confederations, that people do things to improve what they can see is obviously not working. They take this seriously. And to your point, Crunk, I think it's easy to just kind of push it aside because so many people, denigrate women's sports in general. And so, well, there's not as many eyes or whatever, so we don't have to do anything. I think it's a matter of time. I think we're starting to see that change. And quite honestly, it starts, in my opinion, it starts with sponsors. We need sponsors to say, you know what, enough is enough. I'm not putting my money here if you're not going to be committed to, women's sports just like you are on the men's side. And yeah, it's going to look different for a while. You're right. The WNBA is not bringing in the same amount of money as the NBA. You're right. But the underlying structures need to be the same so that it can build up to that. Maybe it never becomes that. That's okay. It becomes what it becomes because it's its own thing. But you got to give it the support it needs to grow, to develop, and to become whatever it's going to look like in the future. And again, we've already seen historically that if given the opportunities, if given the chances, if given everything that it needs to grow, it will thrive, it will excel. And we just got to get out of its way and let it do its thing and stop artificially holding it back. So get off my rant, man. Shout out to True City Fan. He's not on the Fan Fest, but he is on YouTube shouting us out. So appreciate you joining, man.
Appreciate it. I almost went onto YouTube to be like, I wonder who's watching. Us,
Yeah.
Also, oddly enough, our most
7 people
viewed. Hey, that's dope. Our most viewed YouTube live is. I don't want to actually play this sound. Oh, sorry, I actually pulled it. So then I started hearing my own voice and it threw me off. Our most viewed live video is our live watch along of the Man City women's match that we did a few months ago. That is like our most viewed video by like 3-4 times. I think it's like over 100 views, and all our other ones are like 40, 30, 40, 50. And it's like, that's what's up. And it's things like that. Like, women footy fans, we're looking for a place. Like, if we could just find a home, we'd be there. And so it's just like, just do it. If you build it, we'll come. We'll be there. So shout out to YouTube, shout out to FanFest Live, shout out to Adam hopping on to FanFest Live's browser. We appreciate everybody for staying with us. We're 10 minutes longer than we should have been, but this was a very great conversation that we can't stop. We can't just cut it off because of time. Who does that? Especially because, again, we don't have the match to watch. I know this is a whole Bristol City thing, and like adding Man City women does nothing but attack the admin, but I'm still just like so annoyed. But
you know what, Crump, before we get out of here, can I say something real quick?
Of course.
I just hope that the same investment Paramount Plus in the States has made into the seeing more WSL games. I hope that they add in the FA Cup because it would just be really nice. Like the way that ESPN has the men's FA Cup, right? Like nobody in America is gonna miss United Newcastle later today. You just go to ESPN Plus. We know that. So like ESPN, whoever you are, like somebody pick this up because it's great football. It's a cup competition. We want to see these women play. Just want to put that out there. Sorry, Con.
No, don't apologize.
Did we give our score? Did we give our score for today's game?
No.
Touchdown. We're gonna get a touchdown of goals.
I know we did it on the
let's
podcast.
go.
I didn't know if we did it here.
Let's go.
I got 5. I got 5 on it.
I think on the podcast I said 3 just because it's hard to batter a team so badly back-to-back matches. So I'm going to go 3-0.
I think I said 4 because I was just like, all right, I can't believe I'm one of the like cooler heads in this situation. This is a situation I'm very not used to being in. So this is nice. What's up, DT3? Homie showing up a little late, but you know, that wasn't me giving you a hard time. I'm sorry. I guess I just meant that we're leaving soon. Sorry. I could understand where that sounded like me being passive aggressive. Never. It's all love. But yeah, Adam said after last week against Forest, my prediction is that the team will be wearing jerseys. Smart man.
Right.
But if Chloe Kelly, if she scores all 7 goals by herself, like by the 6th one, she might take her shirt off. So maybe not. I don't know.
Big Petey Pablo energy right there.
Right.
Truth City fans said 4-2 City.
Okay.
I'll take giving them up.
Win, baby. I'm just happy Chelsea knocks out Arsenal. One of those two is not going to move.
Yeah,
that's the big thing. That's the big thing. Those two playing each other head to head. That's awesome for us.
Yeah, for us. Yeah, I'm definitely. This is going to sound weird, but I'm rooting for Arsenal to win because again, you want to see Chelsea.
Chelsea's hurt.
You want to see Chelsea is like specifically be Lauren James is her. Yeah. You want to see them as little as possible.
Yeah, that James Kerr link up is dangerous. Nobody needs those problems. We're good.
No, we're good on that.
Do we know any other brother-sister combinations that I can compare this to? Because I'm like, are they the best? But I can't think of any others.
In a different sport, Reggie and Cheryl.
Oh yeah. Which that combination would be superior because those are both like Hall of Fame players. Mm-hmm. I think these two we got to see. They're still too young to compare to that. At this point.
Yeah, but talent's there. That's for sure.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Lauren is amazing.
Oh, she
break down the color barrier for women. Like.
Yeah, and I think she's about to because she's better than Nikita Paris ever was. Like, and Nikita Paris is great. So, yeah, and I think she's like better than her brother. Like,
for sure.
Oh yeah, it's the Cheryl thing. Like she is.
I was saying they said Cheryl was way better than Reggie also.
Yeah, so not even close. She used to beat him. Like not even close. Cheryl would have been the GOAT women if we would have had WNBA and notoriety. Everyone would know how great Cheryl Miller was.
Yeah. You missed out. Well, man, this was a fantastic little pre-show. So we will let you guys go. Thanks again for all of our viewers. We will see you guys next week. Saturday, we got the men. They play. Wow, my brain melted. Already set up. But the men play on Saturday. It's a bright and early. So I think it's like 6:00 for me. So
4:30 kickoff. Yes. We gonna set.
Yes, Charlie. If you don't want to do the kickoff show, or you do the kickoff show just literally lying in bed, I would understand. And then
is that a just don't go to sleep scenario? Just stay up all
you gotta sleep. I ain't that young. Yeah, we sleeping.
I ain't that young.
4:20 alarm. 3:58 alarm for 4:00 show.
And then the women, they play on Sunday against Tottenham, and that technically is a late game. So shout out to them for that. So we'll see you guys next week, and next week on FanFest. We will see you on SOB on Tuesday because we record tomorrow. So y'all have a great rest of your day. Shady out.